10 reasons humans will be extinct in 1,000 years. Number 10. Grey goo. First popularised by nanotech engineer Kim-Eric Drexler in 1989, the grey goo scenario imagines self-replicating nanobots running amok. This is how the apocalypse plays out. A scientist makes a single nanobot 1,000 times smaller than a hair's width. The nanobot has the ability to self-replicate once every 1,000 seconds. If they continued this exponential replication, in just 12 hours there would be 8 trillion, and in 2 days they would weigh more than the Earth. To us, this multitude of microscopic robots would seem like an all-consuming grey goo, hence the scenario's name. How likely is this? Nanotechnology as a field is just starting out, but by 2025, it's estimated that the industry will be worth $173 billion. In 2013, a team successfully made nanobots capable of folding DNA molecules inside a cockroach. While the scientific community remained skeptical of the grey goo hypothesis, if you take 1,000 years and the fact that it would only require one nanobot to start with, it almost seems inevitable. Number 9. Solar activity. In 1859, a scientist noticed something strange was going on when northern lights were seen as far as Cuba. This guy, Carrington, put 2 and 2 together and realised that the pretty light show was the result of a particularly powerful solar flare. No big deal, but if this happened today, it would be a different story. It would knock out GPS, wreaking havoc for aircraft navigation and the financial system, which uses satellite clocks. Flares can also be followed by coronal mass ejections, which send a dose of energetic charged particles directly our way. A powerful storm would send a power surge through electrical transformers, blowing them up and taking down the power grid. Cities would lose power, heating and water, while food and medicines would gradually be eradicated. This is all pretty bad, a lot of people would die, but it's not exactly an extinction. That's because the Earth would be protected from the worst of it by the magnetosphere. However, the Earth's magnetic poles periodically switch, and when they do, some scientists think that the magnetic shield weakens or even disappears temporarily. Physicist Jean-Pierre Vallée proposed that the extinction of the Neanderthals was due to a weakened magnetosphere. Given that we're due a pole reversal now, it seems entirely possible that we could be blasted by dangerous particles with no protection in the next 1,000 years. Number 8. Pandemic. History is littered with gigantic diseases that swept huge swaths of people off the face of the planet. The Black Death killed up to 60% of Europe, and the Spanish flu of 1918 killed up to 100 million. It's only natural that bird flu or Ebola or something else will mutate to become a human-killing machine. This is even more worrying now that we live in a world connected by technology and air travel that allows for efficient global transmission. But in spite of this, philosopher Nick Bostrom argues that some of humanity is still likely to survive. What we may not survive, however, is a man-made pathogen, specifically designed to be extra deadly. Existing viruses could be modified in a laboratory and accidentally escape. Work is already underway in Australia where scientists are morphing mousepox into the deadliest smallpox, which has a 95% mortality rate if left untreated. And then there is the prospect of bioterrorism. Anyone can already buy the genome for Ebola for a few $1,000s. It could take just one outbreak of one supervirus to put a stop to humanity. Number 7. Supervolcano. Supervolcanic eruptions coincided with mass extinction events 250 million and 66 million years ago. Here's where you might want to be worried. Immense pressure builds up under the Earth's crust, creating a giant pool of magma, and when it finally breaks through, you get a supervolcanic eruption. Such an explosion propels over 1,000 cubic kilometers of ash into the atmosphere. That's about a quarter of the volume of the Grand Canyon. Such a quantity effectively blocks out the sun for several years and causes a so-called volcanic winter that can decrease the global temperature by 10 degrees Celsius with obvious catastrophic consequences for life. A mild version of this happened in 1816, the year without a summer, after the eruption of Mount Tambora. The Yellowstone caldera in the USA is a likely culprit. The chances that it will erupt in the next 1,000 years can be estimated to be 1 in 730, which is roughly the same as being dealt a full house in poker. Since we can currently only predict an eruption there a few weeks in advance, it's not clear how well we can protect our food supply and ourselves. Number 6. Gamma ray burst. It's not just the more mainstream supervolcanoes that get all the mass extinction action. There are also the less heard of gamma ray bursts. They're created when a supernova goes supernova itself and you get a fearsome hypernova. These explosions of high-energy radiation contain as much energy as the sun will emit in 10 billion years, and when they are pointed directly at life, the results aren't pretty. Astronomer Phil Plait describes huge portions of ozone being obliterated, as well as nitrogen in our air being oxidized into smog that would then fall down as acid rain. In the worst-case scenario, he says, models show that this would result in mass extinctions. One candidate is a star called WR104, a too-close-for-comfort neighbour of ours that also happens to be pointed right at us. We know that it's on the brink of exploding, but we don't know when exactly. It could be in 1,000 years, but it could even be tonight. Number 5. artificial intelligence. If Terminator, iRobot and The Matrix are anything to go by, we might as well give in to our future robot overlords right now. These stories may currently be the stuff of science fiction, but according to some of the world's greatest minds, they are a deadly possibility. Technology is getting better and better all the time, almost exponentially so, and this should also hold for artificial intelligence. There is a point known as the singularity when a superintelligence is created that is able to create even more advanced technologies than humans can understand, leading to runaway progress. In such a scenario, there is no reason to believe that the superintelligence would be benevolent to us, and in fact, they might not even be neutral. Stephen Hawking has warned that this AI could outcompete humans, driving us to extinction, and others have claimed that they could be led to destroy us if they misinterpreted their intended function, i.e. to aid humanity. Number 4. Nuclear war. 14,900. That's how many nuclear weapons are thought to exist today, each with the capability of razing an entire city and killing millions of people. For reference, there are just 4,400 cities on Earth, so you can irradiate the whole planet and have 10,000 spare while you watch firestorms rage in the atmosphere. In the 70 or so short years since the invention of the bomb, we have already come worryingly close to a nuclear holocaust on numerous occasions. From the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis to Norwegian scientists studying the Northern Lights with a rocket, various incidents have nearly precipitated the end of man. Just how many times can we get lucky though? While nuclear arsenals are down from an all-time high of 65,000, a nuclear-free world seems almost unimaginable to most. A poll of experts gave a 1 in 100 chance that a nuclear human extinction would happen in the next 100 years. With 1,000 years, it's hard to imagine the types of nations and conflicts that could arise. Do we really believe that no one would ever push the button? Number 3. Asteroid. 66 million years ago, a colossal asteroid struck the Earth, and it's most likely to have been the cause of the dinosaurs' extinction. Another asteroid like this will hit Earth, but when? There are of course lumps of rock hurtling through the darkness of space that we don't see, but one dangerous asteroid we do know about is Bennu, and it's thought that it may collide with Earth sometime in the late 22nd century. Scientists actually launched a probe in 2016 to stake out our adversary and work out if it could be redirected. So what happens if Bennu does hit the Earth? It's around 500 meters across and would impact with the force of around 100 times the nuclear bombs that were dropped on Hiroshima. The result would be a major natural disaster covering an area the size of the US, but not one that would wipe humans out. For that, you would need an asteroid that is multiple kilometers across, which would turn the sky into a sort of red-hot glowing lava. And while it seems that we have tracked down nearly all the largest asteroids, there's always the chance that an undiscovered one could smash into us out of the blue. Number 2. Global warming. 97% or more of scientists believe that global warming is happening, but how bad can it get? Well, the answer is very bad. Temperature rises, ice caps melted, water rising, habitats destroyed, animals and plants extinct, and that's just with most reviews only projecting up to 2100, so looking at the next 1,000 years is challenging. 2 studies that actually make predictions up to the year 2300 see the sea level rising as much as 5 meters and the global average temperature rising more than 12 degrees Celsius. This would render over half the Earth's landmass uninhabitable. The average human body would not be able to cool itself down and would die from heat exhaustion. If enough isn't done to curb greenhouse emissions, who knows how much of the planet would be left by the year 3000. Number 1. Probability and the snowball effect. These are a lot of scary scenarios, but just how likely is it that any of them will happen in the next 1,000 years? As it turns out, even today, you're around 10 times more likely to die as a result of a human extinction event than a car crash. So give humanity a millennium, and extinction starts to look like a pretty safe bet. This is partly due to the so-called snowball effect. If any one of the events happens, they create a situation where humans are more exposed to further existential misfortune. For example, if an asteroid hits and wipes out most of humanity, those left will be more susceptible to a pandemic and ecological collapse. So here are the numbers. The chances we will survive the next 100 years? 90% according to estimates by the British government. The next 500 years? 50 to 70% according to philosopher John Leslie and cosmologist Sir Martin Rees. The next 1,000 years? Unless we escape the Earth, 0% according to Stephen Hawking. So those are our 10 reasons humans will be extinct in 1,000 years. Don't worry though, you've still got plenty of time. So why not check out the video playing on screen and give us a like and subscribe.
10 ways technology is killing you. Number 10. Insomnia. We all do it, get tucked up in bed and then have a quick browse of Facebook, check your texts or watch a quick cat video. But there are actually some serious ramifications of these seemingly harmless habits. Bright artificial light can wreak havoc with your circadian rhythm, the internal clock that regulates your sleeping habits. At around 9 PM at night, the body releases a hormone called melatonin, which signals the brain that it's time to sleep. However, staring at screens within the hour immediately before sleep can suppress the production of melatonin by